So I'd like to just move on to progesterone sensitivity. But before I dive in there, I forgot to mention when we were talking about progesterone blind spot in general, progesterone and hysterectomy, because this is an area where I really struggle because having had no medical training whatsoever, I just started to observe half my clients coming in who'd had a hysterectomy, let's say non-hormonal for now, let's say non-hormone cancer, sorry, it's all hormonal, but non-hormone cancer, because that would definitely be a
Yeah.
no estrogen progesterone at all. But half my clients coming in with hysterectomy had been offered something like Utrogestan, and the other half coming in non-hormonal cancers, no, you can't have that because you don't have a womb.
I mean, I'm so interested that you think that you say that half have been offered progesterone because that's even an improvement. I would say that the majority I've seen have not.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if any of them have or were
It's been so weird because that's
probably
what
were
made me
initiated.
alert to it. If I just
Yeah.
if I'd never seen the anomaly, it wouldn't have clocked to me that there was an issue out there.
Mm. So again, I mean, what this stems back to is about the idea of prescribing for a reason. So the reason
Mm.
of giving progesterone was always linked to protection of the womb, as opposed to the overall well-being effects that having balanced hormones have in your body. So it's completely different psychology. Again, we're starting from the lens of disease. We're starting from the lens of of preventing or treating disease and disorder, and not about well-being. So the thought was that if you remove a woman's womb, you don't need to protect the womb, therefore she doesn't need progesterone, which is absolutely not the case for the rest of the body because we're not walking wombs. And we have progesterone receptors everywhere. We have them in the brain, we have them in the breast, and it is quite remarkable that hasn't been made into sort of mainstream practice, actually, because there are studies like the Ethiopian cohort study that show that taking estrogen alone is not as good as taking estrogen with progesterone for the breast. So that it's crazy, but it's come from that lens, and I think all women who have had a hysterectomy would benefit from progesterone,
I
presumably.
agree. My standpoint and what we teach is that to educate the woman in the benefits of progesterone and ask her to go back and a second opinion and because there are doctors out there who will prescribe, and so to keep sort of ringing that bell really, and then if they don't get anywhere, okay, now we refer on to your team because it's so important, and particularly in the early stages, so many of the women, because often the things that I see is that a lot of the reasons that they were having their hysterectomy in the first place are often estrogen dominant, rooted in estrogen dominant issues. And so then just the no progesterone and more estrogen, more issues are kind of being compounded.
And I mean, in fact, you could quite easily send them to us. We could initiate them on Utrogestan and hand them back, right?
Great. Yeah, yeah, that's a great
Possibly,
idea.
because I think it doesn't mean that, if it's something that they can get on the NHS, we'll tell them get this on the NHS. That's the best way. But I think it's got, that's one of the things you've got to be sure. If you see that someone needs progesterone, they've had a hysterectomy, they're just on estrogen, they're having symptoms of progesterone deficiency, and they need progesterone, you kind of want to send them to someone where they're going to get the right treatment. Because
Yeah,
otherwise, they
quickly.
start
Yeah.
to really lose faith. They go back to someone else, and then that other person says, no, you don't need progesterone because you don't have a womb. And then, no matter how long you've spent telling the patient all the reasons they would still benefit from progesterone, it's incredibly disruptive, and they will, in that moment, probably lose all trust, may even stop taking the estrogen. That's my experience of what happens to real
Mm,
people. And that's why we have to take it so much responsibility to actually knowing what we know. I think that we need to be sending them to the right places. That's the thing. We need to be all singing from the same hymn sheet, and we need to be finding a way to navigate back into the system. So, for example, if we see someone like that, we initiate her on Utrogestan, then we write a letter to her GP saying, look, this is why she had a hysterectomy. Yes, we understand she doesn't need progesterone for endometrial protection. We get that, but these are all the benefits of bioidentical progesterone. Since starting it, she has noticed an improvement in insomnia. Blah blah blah. Please continue. They're not going to have a problem. And that is going to, for the patient, it's going to make such a difference, because I think mistrust at the moment in the society that we live in, it's huge and it's really detrimental to people.
Yeah, I agree. That's usually what I tell people. Once you've had this prescription and you've seen a specialist, it's almost very much like then somebody of a more specialized interest has been able to prescribe this, then there's a very good chance your GP will be able to take over the prescription because of that conversation. I absolutely I explain that to clients.
And that's where functional medicine doctors should act as the bridge, I believe, because it should be the case that actually you at that point make the decision to say, look, knowing what I know about the system, refer them there, write in the referral letter. Actually, they want to be handed back to their GP afterwards. It's going to navigate it, and I think it's going to help the whole of the functional medicine side integrate better, because I loved what you said at the beginning about the fact that this isn't complementary.
Mm,
How do we move from being sidelined, being complementary, or how does your system move from that into the mainstream? I believe that we are at that intersection. I really, really believe that the work that we
yes.
do, is absolutely, and I think we have to be finding that way back in, where we're just saying, look, this is irrefutable. There's the science. It works. It's working really well for this person, and then people don't really have a problem with it.